Hello, good afternoon, good morning. So it's 2 p.m. in Bangkok, so it's a time to start the webinar. And as I see that some other colleagues may be joining soon, but while they are joining, I think we can start the introductory part. So let me again welcome all of you. I'm Mushtaq Memon, Regional Coordinator for Resource Efficiency in United Nations Environment Program, Asia and the Pacific Office based in Bangkok. Then with me is my colleague, Claire Thibault. She's in charge for the Junior Resolution on Sustainable Consumption and Production. And in line with that, we have been organizing these consultative processes and also to collect the policies and products on SCP in Asia Pacific. So today's title is Mainstreaming Coherent and Effective Sustainable Consumption and Production Policies, including through circular economy models and best practices and recommendations. So this is supposed to be quite interactive, so we can get more insights into the SCP policies, products, and also some of the circular economy models and best practices. And at the end of the day, we have some set of recommendations. So without further ado, I would like to invite my colleague, Claire Thibault, for a further introduction to the webinar. Claire, over to you, please.
Thank you so much, Mushtaq. And ladies and gentlemen, good day. And welcome to this regional consultation hosted by the UN Environment Programme on the UNEA4 resolution on sustainable consumption and production. So this consultation has been organized jointly by the UN Environment Programme and our technical partner, JGSCE. Thank you very much for having made the time to join this consultation today. On behalf of colleagues, I would like to extend a warm welcome to all of you. I am, as Mushtaq said, I'm Claire Thibault. I'm an Associate Program Officer in the Economy Division of the UN Environment Programme based in Paris, and I will be co-facilitating this consultation today. UNEP is convening a series of virtual consultations in all regions in the course of September of this year, as we prepare for the 5th session of the Environment Assembly, which will be held in February 2021. We convened an informative session on the 29th of July to brief member states in the Asia-Pacific region on the consultation process and the implementation of the resolution. But during today's consultation, we hope to delve a bit deeper into the substantive aspects of the resolution. We will also be seeking your feedback on a number of questions related to the implementation of product policies and the uptake of innovative design practices for product and services in your respective countries in order to help us better report back to the 5th UN Environment Assembly and formulate relevant recommendations for UNEA 5 attention. So today's consultation will be structured around the agenda you see on the screen. I will first share some background elements on the UNEA 4 resolution and on the consultation objectives. We will then hear from Professor Shabir Givela from GJSCE, who will present a more detailed overview of the product policies and good examples of design practices in the Asia Pacific, which we have collected so far. And we will also hear from Dr. Tumrung Rat from Thailand, who will share the experience of Thailand in implementing product policies. An interactive discussion will follow next, where we will be seeking your feedback on 3 consultation questions that will be displayed on the screen. The chat function of the Zoom platform we are using today is available to receive your questions and comments at any time throughout the consultation. Please also note that this consultation is being recorded, and the presentation for today's meeting will be made available and shared with you. We understand that as a virtual consultation, it may not be possible to hear from everyone who would like to speak, but please be reminded that we are accepting written submissions until the end of the month. And before I give the floor to Professor Shabir Givala, our first speaker, allow me to provide you with an overview of the resolution as well as some background elements. So the resolution on innovative pathways to achieve sustainable consumption and production was adopted in March 2019 during the 4th session of the UN Environment Assembly. And this resolution was sponsored by Indonesia, Japan, Colombia, Chile, and the European Union and its member states. More specifically, the operative paragraph number 15 requests UNEP to submit a report providing an overview of best practices on the design of products and services which minimize harmful environmental impact, and an inventory of coherent product policies which aim at decoupling economic growth from environmental degradation through SCP. And UNEP is also requested to provide recommendations for consideration at UNEA 5. By the way, throughout this consultation, we will use the terms Environment Assembly, UNEA 4 or UNEA to refer to the UNEP decision-making body on the environment. And the implementation of the specific mandate of the operative paragraph 15 is made possible thanks to the financial support of the European Commission. So as outlined on the previous slide, UNEP was requested to 1, produce a global inventory of coherent product policies, to develop a collection of good examples of design practices and of product and services and their impact, and 3, to formulate recommendations on the potential of coherent product policies and innovative design practices of product and services to support the transition to SCP. So what we would like to hear from you all today are your insights, your expertise, and your knowledge about difficulties, challenges, but also about best practices and success stories so that UNEP can collect and build on that information. So allow me to share with you a definition of the concept of product policies. So product policies refer to all policy instruments which aim at minimizing the negative impact of a product throughout its entire life cycle. Product policies therefore cover a range of aspects, from the tracking of natural resources extraction, the uptake of green technology, the use of chemicals, the facilitation of the implementation of industrial symbiosis, to policies on eco-labels, green public procurement, and waste management policy instruments such as EPR schemes. So we have 3 key questions that we'd like to pose to you during this session and which were shared with you in advance via email. The questions are currently displayed on the screen and they are anchored around the key elements provided by the UNEA 4 resolution, that is the product policies and the design practices of products and services. So we encourage you to make your voice heard, and we look forward to learning more from your experience during this consultation. Following today's discussion, you are encouraged to continue sharing details on your national experience in implementing product policies by email. Contact details are displayed right now, We also continue collecting design stories from businesses. So I do encourage you to share information on good examples that you have come across. Let me now give the floor to Professor Shabir Givala, who will give us a status overview of the inventory of product policies in the region. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Claire, and thank you to all the participants. I hope I'm being heard clearly. Yeah. So we have been in touch with many of you, and you have kindly shared information with us regarding your product policies. 15 countries have been engaging with us, including Brunei Darussalam, Cambodia, Indonesia, Iran, Japan, Korea, Laos, Mongolia, Myanmar, Palau, the Philippines, Singapore, Sri Lanka, Thailand, and Vietnam. So they have been participating with us through the online survey. And among those listed countries, what we got is that Brunei Darussalam, Laos, Mongolia, the Philippines, and Palau have reported that their comprehensive product policies either do not exist or are still in the developing phase. Whereas there have been other examples like on waste management policy instruments. So for example, we have Singapore that has the zero waste master plan, where they focus on reuse and recycling of their resources. So of course, this is again related to their product design, which can facilitate the reuse and recycling of materials. We shall see this again and again, that recycling is not an afterthought, but you have to actually integrate that in the design of your product for the product to be able to be recycled at the end of its life. So then there are other countries, for example, Indonesia. We have Pak Adi with us, who has been very kind to share his experience in the last webinar as well, and he can probably add more later on. So Indonesia has been promoting the standards on and environmental labels and consumer information on paper, and they have also been developing regulations on plastic use, such as the ban of single-use plastics, as well as the design for sustainability, where products are being redesigned and packaging is being redesigned to phase out the single-use plastics and to reduce excessive packaging, to increase the recycled content, etc. So, and they also have the design for recyclability and reusability, and they have developed take-back systems for post-consumer products for the packaging for reuse and recycling. I'll go to the next slide. And then we have Japan. Japan was also one of the countries that presented their experience last time. It has been always a forerunner in sustainability issues, and they have this sound material cycle policy. So I think we have probably Shigematsu-san with us today as well. He made a presentation last time. And here, the important thing is about the effective utilization of resources act. So here, again, we have the focus on recycling, but from the point of view of design, how to design the products in the electronics, food, construction, end of life of vehicles, etc., so that the products, at least the materials or products, can be recycled at the end of their life. So, and then they have also this bottle collection system and so on in place, the infrastructure in place to actually collect the materials so that the recycling can be done. Another very good example is from Korea. They have had a stepwise approach. At first, they created an eco-label. So that is the tool that they want to use for promoting the purchase of green products. Once that is done, then in the second phase, they create awareness among the public about sustainable lifestyle and green consumption, so that the people actually know that what is the meaning of that eco-label and why they should use it. So then they introduce the green credit card system and the green store certification. And as the third phase, they are increasing the green purchasing. Now we are targeting the purchasing itself through the GPP, the green purchasing policy of eco-labeling and so on. So this has been the experience from Korea. We have also the experience of Vietnam. Once again, they have the SCP National Action Plan, and within that, they have the regulations such as the one on recovery and processing of waste products. So here again, they have the single-use plastics ban or the reduction in the use of single-use plastics, and also the recycling and reuse of scrap material. And they have their own green label as well for many products such as batteries, photocopiers, LED bulbs, LED modules for general lighting, and so on. And they have a policy right now being in the pipeline, being promoted on green distribution system. So we need to have a supply chain in place for facilitating the recycling and the application of all kinds of design in the product system. So they have the application of cleaner production, energy saving, energy production systems, etc., and the policies to kind of have these in the distribution system so that we can have sustainable products. India has a draft national policy on resource efficiency. So they are focusing on, once again, a label that is their eco-mark scheme, and they're deliberating on improving the extended producer responsibility or EPR, the implementation of that, so that the producers don't just sell the product and then they're done with it, but they will be also responsible for it upstream as well as at the end of life of the product. And then they have also the instruments on taxes on various things, for example, the ban on or tax on the disposal to landfills, and also green public procurement. So I think now we would like to hear from some experience sharing from Thailand, and I give the floor to Dr. Thamongrat, who has kindly agreed to share the experience with us.
Okay, thank you very much. Can you share the slide for me,
Yes.
please? Okay, let's see. I will talk on behalf of the Thai SCP network, which is, involved in several stakeholders on this issue. So the next slide, please. You can view the full slide.
Full screen mode.
Full screen mode.
Use the full screen mode, just there.
Okay, so this is the one that I showed last time, that we have the Thai SCP network, which is involved industry, agri-food, tourism services, and some other related organization in this network. And you can see that we have policy and planning. So that one is involved ONEP, that under the Ministry of Natural Resource and Environment of Thailand. So they kindly do the policy for the country on SCP. And we also have the awareness and lifestyle and also sustainable public procurement by the DEQP and Pollution Control Department. So that under the Monterey also. So next slide, please. Okay, so we have done the SCP status report of Thailand last year. Actually, ONEP, has done it every year, but mostly it's from the government under the plan. But what Thai SCP doing, we collect from all the stakeholders, which is include the private sector and all NGO also. So next, please. This year we will do the 2020. From this, to support the green product service and organization, I just show the certification scheme in Thailand. For the government, we have MOLE, which is the DEQP, Department of Environmental Quality Promotion. They have all the G, which means green scheme. For the TGO, Thailand Greenhouse Gas Management Organization, they have a carbon footprint of products, carbon footprint of organization, carbon reduction, carbon footprint reduction label, carbon neutral, carbon offsetting. So all the carbon labeling scheme they are doing there. Pollution Control Department, PCD, they involved on the green public procurement. Since they start year 2008 on the first phase. Now it's the third phase of Thailand. So they not only government now, they're trying to promote for the private sector and the people, the general public also. For the MOI, no, back, okay. Ministry of Industry, they have a GI mark, and which is an eco-industrial park and also eco town also. So that the organization that they're trying to do. For the NGO, Thailand Environmental Organization Institute, they have a green labeling, carbon reduction label. Federation of Thai Industry, they have water footprint label. They have eco factory scheme. TGBI, Thailand Green Building Institute, they have green building certification scheme. Greenleaf Foundation, they have a Greenleaf Hotel. For the private sector, you know, we have SCG Eco Value, Green for Life for the PTT, Petroleum of Thailand, Green Heart for the big company also for the cement industry. So I show you the product service for the organization. What we are trying to do in the scheme of organization, we're trying to put green products for them, because organization they can be the provider of the green product, green service. Also, they are a purchaser of green product and green services also. So we put the criteria in the scheme, like eco factory certification scheme. In there, they have to report, you know, the green purchasing, you know, and also green value chain of them. They have to do this continuous improvement on that. So this scheme will promote green product and green services also for Thailand. Next slide, please. So this is the DEQP activity to promote green product and services. They have all the G, as I mentioned. They have G production. They have green services, G hotel, G restaurant, G national park, G airport. They have a consumption also, the green offices and green card application that for general public to if they use the, you know, green service, green promotion, green products, they will get the score for them to use it, you know. So this is the DEQP activity. So this is the roadmap. We have a 20-year roadmap supported by EU Switch Asia. I involved in this also. So at that time it's 2017 to 2036. Now we extend one more year to 2037 to be in line with the 20-year Thailand National Plan. And this has been adopted by the This has been adopted by the ONEP and endorsed by the SD Committee of Thailand already. So in this, we have three sectors for the sustainable production and three sectors for the sustainable consumption. In there, you can see the GPP and eco-labeling in there. And also we have supporting infrastructure, which is, you know, cross-cutting on production and consumption. Next, please. So this is just recent work that I'm doing now under the Switch Asia also. What we're trying to do, we're trying to clustering the product and services. Because GPP, you know, only at that time is green labeling only, the type 1 labeling, which is only not many products. So we're trying to have more. So we study products, services, and organization. We collect all the products labeling in Thailand, all the services labeling in Thailand, and also organization labeling in Thailand, and trying to promote this one. So we try to clustering this one and use it in the basket of Thailand. Next, please. So this is just some collection of data. You know, we collect all the data of green product and green services. So this is some data that available, sorry, that in Thai. Next, please. So we look at the scheme that, you know, they do the life cycle assessment or not. This is all include all the impact category or not. So we're trying to see that it's more green or less green on the scheme that they are available. Next, please. So, and then we scoring, you know, and put them in the scoring that they use a policy of the country, the certification organization is, you know, they are reliable or not, using life cycle thinking or not. So next, please. Then we come up with the first, the level. The first one is green label. Sorry, that in Thai. Green label is number one. The level 2, 3, 4, 5. That means, you know, next in the policy, what we trying to see that if it's quite clean, you know, the government should select this first. But if no products in there, they can select the second, the third level, fourth level, and fifth level. So that means, you know, we are trying to do the green level for the products. Okay, next, please. So this is also for the services. Next, please. So also, so this is level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. So we do the stakeholder consultation, and they said that, you know, 5 level is too much. Now we will reduce to 3 or 4 level in the basket. So we also collect the Thai government expenditure in the fiscal year, this fiscal year, and see that which product and which services government spending on that. And we will put that, you know, the higher spending we'll put in the basket for the government to select and promote the green product, green services in the basket. Next, please. So this is the supporting scheme that we propose, you know, consumption, production, and monitoring scheme, and who involved in that. And this is not only the government, we look at the private sector and also individual purchasing also to help them, you know, to increase more products, more service in the basket. When I said basket, you know, right now the Ministry of Finance, they will have an act that, you know, the government can purchase that products if it's in the basket, approved vendor list of the pollution control department. So that's why we plan to put more product, more approved vendor list in the basket. Okay, so this is the level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We will change this because this is ongoing work, and the stakeholders said that, you know, 5 level is too much, too many in there. Next, please. That is all right. We have more slide or no?
I think that was the last one, sir.
Okay, okay. So that quickly that, you know, I go through that. If you have any question, I will be glad to. This is ongoing process now.
Thank you very much, Dr. Thamramrat. Now, we have been, along with the product policies from the different member states, we have also been engaging with businesses from the different member states who have been adopting design practices, green design practices, and we have some good examples from the region. So we have just put 3 or 4 over here, but we have more than that, but just to show you. So we have so many different sectors. For example, from Thailand, we have the electronics and e-waste sector, that is the Fuji Xerox eco-manufacturing. From Pakistan, we have the textile. From China, we have tourism, which is kind of a service rather than a product per se, but it also involves products too. And India is auto rickshaw, that is transportation. So I would like to share a little bit, a few words on the Thailand example of the Fuji Xerox. So here we have the design for recyclability that we talked about in the product policies before when we were talking about the government policies also. So here is a very, very excellent example for design for recyclability of the office copier machine. So now, as I mentioned before, the design, recycling is not an afterthought. We cannot just produce a product and then decide that now we are going to recycle it when it comes to the end of its life. We have to think in advance when we are designing the product itself that we would like the product to be recyclable. And there are many ways to do it. Recycling does not mean only recycling of materials, which is kind of also good, but it's kind of the last option. But before we go to recycling of materials, we should have maybe the recycling of parts. So for if you want to recycle parts of the photocopy machine, which Fuji Xerox has done, there they have a modular design so that the different parts can be refurbished, or they can be removed and replaced, so that the machine itself stays, as we don't discard the machine itself, but just one part of the machine can be taken out and replaced, or it can be updated if there are upgrades. And it's also kind of a closed loop system for the future. So when you want to refurbish the product, then this set of design is also very useful for refurbishing the product. So that was the parts recycling and design. Then of course we have the recycling of the materials itself. For the materials to be recycled, we understand that during the design phase itself, the design has to be made in such a way that first we have few number of materials, not a lot. When we have a lot of materials, all of them need to be separated. Even plastics, we cannot recycle plastics as a group. Each type of plastic has to be separated. So if we have too many types of plastic and they're all mixed, it's very difficult to separate them, and that does not facilitate recycling. So what they did was that they minimized the number of materials and they made them easy to separate. And especially they focused on hazardous materials, which are kind of dangerous. And so they should be the first ones that we should be able to separate out, so that they can be disposed of in an environmentally friendly way. And the other thing that in the initial stages, when they started this recycling activity, which is quite a long time back, what they realized is the plastic itself, we talk about plastic recycling, but when they were recycling the plastic, it was being downgraded, downcycled. So this was something that was not acceptable. And so they did some kind of an innovation on how to maintain the quality of the plastic so that it can be used in the same form rather than being downcycled. So all these kind of inverse manufacturing system has been planned, and it's a very good example which other companies may also follow. So of life cycle planning, recycle, reuse design, and environmental assessment, leading to a closed loop system, so that you don't have anything going out, and therefore also zero emission. So nothing going to the landfill and no illegal dumping and so on. So this is one of the examples that we would like to share for the design practices from a particular company, which is actually there. It's not a thought process, but it is actually implemented. So I think we now move on to the interactive discussion points. So maybe Dr. Mushtaq may please lead the discussion.
Yeah, so thank you very much, Claire, Professor Shabir, Dr. Ruth. And let's now move to quickly on some of the discussions we are going to have. So one is first, I think keyword we are picking up is the product policies. That how product policies in your country have been instrumental to preserve the environment. Now, any policies around any products, around electronics, around cars, around, I mean, mobility sector, housing sector, energy sector, agriculture sector, any sectors. So any policies regarding any products or services. So may I please invite the volunteer first if they would like to contribute, and then we can also go around the table. So first to have volunteers. Who's going to raise the hand? Any volunteers? Okay, otherwise, if you allow me, if we can go around the table, it would be good to see that you can pick one product, like from your country, whether you have any policies on the, let's say on the electronics or consumer goods, on the cars, mobility, on the housing, buildings, and so on. So just any of the product policies would be useful. So,
Dr. Mushtaq.
Yeah.
I think India would like to share something. They have raised their hand.
Please, please go ahead.
Afternoon, everyone. Very interesting topic that we are deliberating on today. I would start with that the government of India has many policies that focus on different or specific sectors, specific life cycle stages pertaining to sustainable consumption and production. For example, in agriculture, there is a scheme on per drop more crop. So that says that to become more water efficient. There are schemes on industry sector to reduce their GHG emissions and kind of market driven mechanism to have their credits, to share their credits driven by market mechanism. For example, labeling of electrical appliances, where consumers are informed of how much electricity the appliance would consume, what would the electricity savings. So, and quite successfully, for example, for when consumer goes for buying appliances, they first look on the star rating. So many of these schemes, whether targeted to consumers or for industries, have been taken up quite successfully. Since these schemes or these policies are specific to certain sectors, there now, as already have been mentioned about the resource efficiency policy that India is bringing up, the idea to capture the opportunities and bring out more coherence among different type of policies. For example, waste management, how to get it in coherence with other policies. For example, automobile, how to get their waste streamlined into the waste management sector. So a policy on resource efficiency is being under formulation that brings in the idea of life cycle approach. So looking on all the resources, all the sectors with the life cycle perspective. So the main points here then become that the stakeholder participation from the very beginning becomes very relevant. And then to drive, to develop policy instruments for each stage, like how they be more coherent, for example, and to drive awareness. For example, I'll just give an example that also this has been discussed in the draft policy. For example, we have a policy that we would be, by 2030, we would be having 300 MTPA of steel production. Now, we also have recently steel scrap recycling policy. So these fit into different aspects of the whole life cycle. Now, to think about coherently, like what would be the policy instruments needed? For example, we need to have some kind of sustainable public procurement that would tell that this is the standard, this is the certification of the secondary material produced, and it be taken up, for example, by the government procurement to give it a market right. So we are looking into those kind of aspects into this resource efficiency, draft resource efficiency policy, to bring an overarching feature to the specific measures, policy measures that are already present, and also cover it across the broad resource range. For example, bringing in all the biotic and the biotic resources across the whole life cycle chain. So this is the recent development from Indian side. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bhavna Singh. Very helpful, and also you addressed the other two questions in a way, that what are the enabling conditions, including green public procurement, and how to create further coherence. And I may come back a little later to you, if you don't mind, to have some of the good policies where the enabling conditions, including the government, how the government structures are working in India with the state and so on. But first, let me go to Ibu Adi from Indonesia. Ibu Adi, floor is yours.
I think it's Pak Adi. Yeah.
Ibu is for lady, yeah.
Yeah. So thank you. So I'd like to bring this perspective that amongst those products that are of familiar with the issue of sustainability, perhaps that the paper product, that they have been enjoying this discussion on sustainability over years, yeah, and just recently on the plastic. So see, we observed that in the paper industry, pulp and paper industry, that improving efficiency in energy use and water use in production has been there, and they would like to move further. Yes, no questions, and all the stakeholders would say yes. But in terms of the natural resource, this is the area of the battle of the issue of sustainability, sustainable forest management and deforestation issues and etc. So a tough discussion, but they understand, and okay, we know how to deal with it. But now in the consumption side, that the paper product and the paper industry see that they accept it, that in the future, the while there is the trend of the less use of paper, paperless office, e-government, digital things, and etc. They understand that there will be less use of paper, but they see that the growth in the population, the growth in the economy will still compensate that, and still they see some growth in there. So I think that the paper industry is the most ready to embrace this journey toward sustainability. Yeah, but we just learned an interesting story with plastics. Yeah. So the practice of 3 R's has been accepted as the, has been the mantra of in plastic. Yeah, reduce, reuse, recycle. But now that the discussion is how far can we go with the recycling? Because the best achievement of all the recycling schemes are, the numbers, not that high, meeting our expectation. And so people understand, yeah, okay, we cannot do the recycling as much as possible. That's the reality. But some innovation comes with biodegradable, yeah. And now the contention is between, okay, the one at one side we promote circular economy with the separation and recycling, but at the other side we know that circular economy and recycling will not solve all of the problems. Yeah, and so this is the where we start to see the discussion in the end game. What would be the proportion of solutions through innovations like degradability, and which proportion of the plastic will go with the circular economy and recycling, and what? So the scenario of the end game now is much more important that we need to discuss, because this is the area that I see very interesting in the discussion in UNEA 4, where the diplomats discussing about life cycle assessment, and more of the countries now come with a challenge. Please look at the life cycle assessments, and we'd like to see all of the impacts coming from the life cycle assessments. And so there will come the debate later of use of the fossil fuel, use of renewable energy, all comes with environmental impacts somehow, some way, and no clean, no perfect clean and green products and services at the end. And so this is a very interesting discussions where the discussion comes very fast to that situation, while our progress in making advancement in the technology and the design of products and innovation in materials comes very slowly. But the discussion over these environmental impacts of products and services already in the very advanced topics and discussion. And so this is very interesting if we follow the discussion in UNEA 4 and in the future UNEA 5. So this is perhaps some of reflection that, okay, very important to see these environmental impacts in products and policies, but our discussions now need to look at the end game. Yeah, in what situation that we foresee that a world without plastic is not possible. Yeah, and so this is a very tough discussion, but we need to make progress. I don't want to complicate things, but this is a very tough discussion now with the dealing with the products and services. Thank you.
Thank you, Pakati. So that's very interesting to see how debate is getting, and especially, I mean, there are many countries, including like Japan, China, Korea, Vietnam, others, that they are creating also the enabling conditions for higher impact of the product policies, including the, as I mentioned, the electronics, timber, and so on, to restore the environment, and also to have a more, starting from the abatement policies, moving now to the more of the environmental friendly. So any thoughts from the other countries? Because this is going to be quite a good learning also for other countries from each other. So I would highly encourage colleagues from all the countries, including Vietnam, China, Japan, Korea, others, to share the experiences or their thoughts around the product policies, the enabling conditions for higher impact, and also the further coherence.
Mr. Can I add a new thing?
Please.
Yeah. The choice over the promote the change through the products and services or change the behavior. Yeah. So Indonesia has thought about it, and Indonesia chose to change the behavior first, because a lot of opportunities in rationalizing the consumption from changing our operation, changing the behavior, changing the pattern in our operation, that should come first while we are waiting for progress in new products, in new services, and in advancement of technology. This is very important because that we had this situation in Jakarta where the governor of Jakarta introduced this what's called single-use plastic ban. Yeah, but the promotion is to choose environmentally friendly packaging. What they mean is reusable shopping bags made of textile, made of plastic, made of anything as far as it's reusable. So we discuss with them, if you promote reusable, this is of the behavior type of promotion, yeah? Promoting behavior, not the material, not the product, not a certain type of shopping bags, yeah? And so this is what we discussed in Indonesia. Which one do you promote? Are you promoting environmentally friendly products, or are you promoting a good behavior of reusing any bags you already have? No need to buy a new bag, something like that. So this is where the discussion is now in Jakarta, because we want that people understand. In most of the time, it's not about the product, it's not about the material. It's more about our behavior and how that we use them. So this is very important to see this perspective of a product policy and policy driving towards responsible behavior, responsible operation. So this is very important in Indonesia.
Yes, exactly. That's why I think now the many countries like China is talking about green consumerism. Japan has a sustainable lifestyles, and also the Korea has a green communities and so on. So basically the products are designed to support that green consumerism or sustainable lifestyles and so on, or even the business models like a shared economy, sharing the cars, sharing the office places and so on. So any thoughts coming from other colleagues? Or in the meantime, may I please move back to Ms. Bhavna Singh, because we saw that Prime Minister, His Excellency Modi ji, had a lot of focus on the plastics, and even World Environment Day, like in the back, was focused on that, and Swachh Bharat. So my point is that to learn from India that how they create the enabling conditions for higher impact involving the political leadership, the bureaucracies, the private sector, and so on. So Bhavna ji, if you please share any of the experiences.
Yes, that has clearly a very high political push to it, the agenda of managing plastics. And in this regard, I recall that as soon as Prime Minister announced about plastic ban, and there came an enthusiasm and awareness, because when it comes from the top, rather than having a regulations, then it brings a mass awareness that about the issue and how and what one can do as a citizen. So that is the announcement of Prime Minister brought it to the masses that this is a problem and our Prime Minister is asking us to do something and we need to think about it. After that, like in the waste management rules itself, there are a particular section on plastic waste management rules. So the rules have brought in the aspect of not the EPR, but let me just find them. It has brought many provisions of EPR, and under which the producers have to collect back the waste plastics, and the urban bodies have to provide supportive infrastructure and the system so that recovery setup can be introduced in their region. So these rules have introduced this EPR provision for plastic waste management. The EPR provision are for e-waste and others, but for also these rules mandate with this EPR provision, giving it a push that it comes back into the chain and the recovery and reprocessing becomes a regularized part of it. Yeah, that I would say.
Thank you, Bhavna ji. So now let's come back to Southeast Asia, and I don't know if any colleagues from Vietnam, because Vietnam is going to launch the new reforms and new plan in March 21, and then we are supporting also Vietnam on the circular economy and shared economy. So they had a Doi Moi 1, that's the reforms in 1980s. It was the openness or marketization. And now this is a Doimoi 2 coming, or also the 10-year plan on the circular economy and shared economy. So any of the colleagues there then may like to provide some information, it will be useful. But in the meantime, let me take advantage of Dr. Ruth here to share some of the experiences on the green card, because that was the way to create the higher impact. So in Thailand. So Dr. Ruth, do you like to share on the experiences on eco-labeling and green card?
Okay, I can add a little bit more on that, but actually let me back to a plastic issue a little bit more. In ASEAN, I think that Park Adi and several Ministry of Environment work on that issue, and I believe that all the country in ASEAN has the policy for the plastic. There are some banning issues and regulation on that. Okay, that my comment on that. And for Thailand, I believe that Professor Chapbia can ask Dr. Vijan. He know quite a lot. He involved in that since he was the permanent secretary of Monterey, and now he's president of the PPP Plastic of Thailand, private partnership, government, private sector, and all NGO in there. Okay, second issue is when you talk about the product policy, I believe that, I show one slide that the budget of government of Thailand now has been moved, to service sector more and more. So they use the money for rental, the building, construction, some other, mostly on the services. So I think that the product policy now, we should move a little bit more on the services. So that's why the green building, green hotel, all kind of that certification system will be really important, and we should focus on that more and more. Because right now the government of people not just purchase the product by itself, it's the contract or the services. And the third that I would like to focus that I show you about the Thailand Greenhouse Gas Management Organization certification scheme. They promote the carbon footprinting labeling. When we talk about the carbon, it's not a single issue, because carbon is related to the energy, related to the resources used, related to the emission, from all kind of stuff, and the material that you use. So carbon label is the integrated emission or impact on that. So that's why this scheme has been quite, has a high impact. And many products in Thailand has been certified, more than others, but still less than the energy efficiency, which is very important issue also. So energy and carbon labeling scheme, I think that will be very, very important, for the country in Asia Pacific to focus on. And fourth thing that I mentioned during my presentation, I would like to stress more that for the green organization, actually, if we put the criteria for them to purchase green product, green services, or to produce green product, green services in the scheme, that would be very important, for them to it's kind of instrument to reduce the environmental impact by the organization also. So that the fourth thing that I would like to mention. And back to Mustach mentioned that green card application. I didn't involve much, but in Thailand we trying to follow the good example from Korea. Korea has been quite successful in promoting the green card. That means like the credit card or some that if you purchase the product or service, you get the point, and that point you can use for the public services. And Korea has been quite successful. I think that should be a good example, because they can manage all the bank system to have a card that can collect the point, all kind of card that you have, credit card. But in Thailand, we're not quite successful on that yet, because the bank, many banks, they have a separate scheme, and also many all the shopping mall, they have their own scheme. So it's, we're not quite successful yet. But DQP has promoted the green card application to all the consumer, and they have a tools that you can collect the point when you purchase green product, green services. And they work with the Federation of Thai Industry to promote this. So it's ongoing, but not, as I mentioned, we are not quite successful yet. But we are doing on that and trying to fix the problem and learn more from some other country also. So that the response to Mustaq mentioned about the green card application. One thing that in Thailand for the green public procurement, we have done this for more than 10 years, but it's quite slowly because government, as I mentioned, so we have to go more on the services. That's why in my study right now, we will add more in the what we call the approved vendor list. So we will add services and add more products in there in the vendor list of the pollution control department who undergoing the system for the product and services. And the Ministry of Finance already have the act for the government to purchase that, and we will promote private and individual to purchase in the approved vendor list. So hopefully we will have some example to share with you in a few years from now that this is successful or not. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. And before I go again to Pak Adi for his cap as a ASEAN SCP to discuss or to get his ideas that how the product policies across the ASEAN work, what are the political and businesses and other things involved, and how we can support or improve that processes within ASEAN as a region. First, let me also leave a question in case if a colleague from Iran may like to contribute later on about the product policies that help Tehran to overcome on the air pollution, including in the mobility sector. So, and also any other colleagues who would like to share on that. So first, let me go quickly to Pak Adi on to learn from that how the ASEAN processes work on the product policies and to create major impact. Pak Adi, if you have any inputs on that, please.
Yes, Mustaq, thank you. So the work is just started that the ASEAN senior officials on the environment has just approved of technical work in the cooperation of the ASEAN and Swiss Asia, and also with the APR SCP, that we will do the mapping of the SCP related work within ASEAN, and also the work of ASEAN and the partners as relevant to SCP and circular economy. And we will do the mapping, and we will develop a framework for SCP policies for ASEAN. And so it will involve the 10 member states of ASEAN, and we will have this as the first stage of such a framework for ASEAN. So this is very important because ASEAN has 600,000 population, and the size of the economy of ASEAN is big, a big domestic market as well as strong in the export. So this will be very important to ASEAN, and most importantly to the communities of ASEAN, because we understand that ASEAN is not only for government officials running meetings, too many meetings sometimes people say. Now we'd like to see that SCP in practice, and SCP will connect the communities of ASEAN, the real people of ASEAN working together towards sustainable lifestyle and practicing SCP on the ground. So we have this Thai SCP network. We have a similar network of practitioners in Indonesia, and perhaps a similar network developing in Malaysia, in the Philippines, and in Vietnam. So we'd like to connect as a truly ASEAN communities. Yeah, and the government will provide the support, and this work very important to promote SCP in practice. And thank you, Mustaq, for this. And ASEAN will invite the partners and international institutions, and also UNEP, of course, to work on this. Thank you.
Thank you, Pak Kadi. So, colleagues, any from other countries, Iran, Vietnam, Korea, China, Japan, any other countries, please? Feel free to
no
share.
one would like to say. Can I add one more?
Yeah, please. Yes, please.
Yeah. Now that recent development of the work of the government of Indonesia, the Ministry of Environment and Forestry, is to work with the Association of Pulp and Paper Industry and the Association of Plastics Industry and recycling groups. Yeah. So now we discuss and start to develop synchronized planning. Synchronized planning means that the pulp and paper industry will promote the new portfolio of products, greener products in the future, when the government will synchronize its planning to introduce a new environmental criteria for that products in the government operations. Yeah. And also with the recycling groups, we would like to develop such a similar synchronized planning when we will see new products with higher recycled plastic content, post-consumer, not imported plastic. It must be from the domestic plastic recycling, and we'd like to see this time frame that we can move further with the industry and also with the support of the government. This is very important, and we will invite also all the financing institutions to work with us to make this move. Yeah, this is very important. Rather than the government push the industry, and the industry will be reluctant of if the government push the time frame. But now we are aiming at synchronizing the planning and join in the resources and the communication between the government and the industry. I think this will be very important to promote trust and to promote the change management that are supported by both parties and also communicated to the stakeholders. I think this would be very important.
Thank you, Pak Kadi, very helpful. And any other colleagues would like to share before I pose one different question now? Okay, anyone can raise hand on these product policies, but my next question is about the product policies which affect the neighboring countries. For example, Thailand, India, Indonesia, they are the hubs of production, like a car industry, for example, just to make it very simple. That cars are exported to the other countries, from India, from Thailand, from Indonesia, for example. Then how the product policy are designed in that country, that is also irrelevant to the other countries where the products are being exported. So, Bhavnaji, do you have any thoughts from India, let's say, on the electric cars?
very interesting perspective. We do have now a policy promoting electric vehicles, and now we are in the second phase of the scheme, which has been launched under Electricity Mobility Mission Plan. And that scheme says its name as Faster Adoption and Manufacturing of Electric Vehicles, FAME. And it says that it will support the electric vehicle market development and its manufacturing ecosystem. So also like adoption of electric vehicles and developing an ecosystem for its manufacturing. I'm particularly thinking on the perspective of how it would affect the neighboring countries where the vehicles would probably be exported. So I would have to think about it, and maybe in writing I would send some comment on it, but I haven't thought about how it would be affecting the import-export, primarily the export part of it. But yeah, maybe it would come up later in writing on it.
Yeah. Thank you. No, that will be very helpful, because imports, we always have like a policies, like a plastic bans and so on, but also the exports like related, that's also interesting debate or to be seen. So any thoughts from Thailand, Indonesia, or Korea, China, Japan, who are the like exporting those products? So any thoughts coming?
Exactly.
Then may I please request Dr. Ruth's insights, if you have, on Thailand, because Thailand is also one of the major exporter. Professor Shabir would like to share anything?
Iran would like to share something. May I just
sorry, yeah,
request?
please go ahead. Sorry, I didn't see that. Yeah.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Yes, we can hear you. Please go ahead. Yeah, good afternoon. Yeah.
This is Master from Iran, and I'm so thankful because of your useful experience in other countries. We are in Iran, have around more than 10 years that we have so many programs related to green economy and to promote some programs related to good environment. We have production of car in Iran also, but there is so many programs about electric cars, and there is so many speeches about that, but because of some problems, we can't promote these programs. As you know, we have sanctioned in some years, and we have so many money problems, and our government also. About other relating aspects also, we have so many programs about green lifestyle and the changing of the behavior of the people. The people are very grateful about these programs, and they're trying to do better more. But as far as I mentioned before, the economic problems can't help to promote the recycle in all of the country, all of the cities in the country, and some problem like this. I think so. in the related issues of the environment in green economy, in some like this, we need to have more support and help financing money from other international organization, because we have sanctions, we have so many problems, and any pollution is are more and more, and we can't enough money to remove that. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Master from Madam Master from Iran. And so, colleagues, you may also send your comments in the chat now, or even later on. It's open, so feel free anytime, even now or later on. You can provide your inputs and contributions, which will be very helpful for us to prepare the report for the UNIA resolution and so on. So, any other thoughts coming before I now close this interactive section in 1 or 2 minutes?
Yes, Mustaq.
Yeah. Yes, please. Yeah. Sorry.
And so I have seen the plan of the research and development plan of the government of Indonesia. Some of those are very advanced, very high tech, but I cannot share with you at this time, because we need to confirm those. But those innovations are of in the low carbon area, yeah, in the renewable source of higher quality of fuel, yeah, and so we see a very promising development for innovation and research and development in the future. I believe that perhaps Thailand, Malaysia, and some other countries in ASEAN will do the same, because they get exposure of this issue of a low carbon, carbon neutral, renewable energy, and others. They know, and so all of the research and development innovation plan will go there. So I think that this will be the second stage in the ASEAN framework on SCP. Yeah, but maybe if we do it now, maybe it's too early. So we will start with the ASEAN framework, connecting the work of ASEAN and the partners and the government. But after that, we will propose to develop a more aggressive plan to make ASEAN market as a green market, with a big economy, a big population. ASEAN will be strong green market in the future. We'd like to convey this future orientation in the work of ASEAN framework on SCP, yeah, ASEAN SCP framework, because we aim to go there with the community and also green market in ASEAN. This will be a very strong move if we can do it together. So I think that's all my.
Can I add something quite short, Mustaq?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I have a three short comment. The first one, you talk about the boundary. As you may know, that we have the plastic and e-waste issue when China, stop importing all of that, and it's become, in Asia, in some other ASEAN country. So that's why we take the innovative that, trying to do the circular economy in the country, that, using all the waste inside and trying to circulate, and, to see that do we need to import all that plastic waste or e-waste into the country. So this is ongoing work now, and trying to use the circular economy to solve that problems. Secondly, Thailand has been working on the new S-curve for industry. which is using the more innovative design to be less polluted industry, including the EV that we are trying to promote also. And recently the government has been used for the gasoline and diesel. B7 biodiesel 7 now become normal now. When you see the diesel in Thailand, that means 7% in the biodiesel. And also if you see the gasoline, just only gasoline, there is mean E10 now. So we promote the biofuels. I think Professor Chabir has known that a lot. His research is on that issue. So that means we are trying to use a clean fuels more and more in the government policy of Thailand. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Very helpful to learn policy. And also from Pakadi. So it's like EU, like getting to the carbon neutral by 2050. The investments are getting EU-wide. So similarly in ASEAN, and also the Thailand situation is focusing on the carbon neutrality and so on. So I think now our time is up for interactive session, but it's not up for you to contribute. So I would like to request you or encourage you that please send your comments by email to us, and that will be included there, or even if you have any questions. So it's not only about only inputs, but if you would like to ask anything, please feel free to ask us. So with that, on that note, again, thanking everyone, and let me hand over back to Claire and Professor Chabir.
Well, actually, Mushtaq, there is one more question with like feedback from participants.
Okay.
So please, it is now on the screen.
Okay, sorry, I didn't see that. Okay, so basically we are looking on the addressing the gaps and challenges. So as Iran already mentioned, and then also would like to see others' perspective that how the international community can play its role in filling those gaps and challenges, whether it be the knowledge gaps, whether it be the financing, technology transfer, whether it be the sharing the policies, and so on. So if you can think about any gaps and challenges which international community can play, will be very useful to learn. So again, as I say, that you can also continue to send your inputs later on, but it's good to have 1 or 2 inputs now. And so may I please request any volunteers again for this question? Okay, Prof. Pakadi, please, over to you.
Yes. So from our experience in Indonesia, it is very important to have an integrating framework for the stakeholders to connect and work together. This is very important to have an integrating framework, and also to develop planning. This is very important because if you are serious about this, make a plan, whatever you start, and connect with the stakeholders and improve your plan and do the plan. And okay, you can see how you make the progress. Maybe that the ambition will go higher in the future. This you can do. This is the first mover. This is very important to have this first mover, and we encourage the practitioners that you are not alone in doing this. And if they see that some institutions working under this framework, and okay, we encourage them to go further, and others will join. I think this is very important. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, and also UNEP is seen now many countries as a partner, like in science, or in like sharing the knowledge or expertise from other countries, and not just like traditional thinking of financial gaps, but more important is a knowledge sharing as a partner to do the things together. Right? It's like in India, like UNEP has been by the Prime Minister Shri Modi ji as a great partner to do the things, to raise the awareness and so on. So any thoughts, any inputs on UNEP support that you would like to see from UNEP?
Okay, can I add?
Yeah, please.
One.
Yeah.
Okay, I just mentioned about the transboundary of the e-waste and also plastic waste. I think that UNEP can play important roles, you know, to solve that problem. Not only problem of Thailand, I believe that many countries how to promote circular economy, and you know, so we don't need to create, you know, that waste and then going around the international sea, and that the problem that caused the problems. So if you can help this one in the some other country in the region, that would be very good. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Ruth. That's very important, like feedback for us to help. And Bhavnaji,
Yes,
I saw your question.
Yeah. UNEP has very well in supporting SCP promotion. For example, we are already part on Switch Asia with the regional policy advocacy, with PAGE program, and also on with task force on sustainable public procurement. So one thing that I would like to mention could also be looked upon is again on a knowledge sharing. For example, sector specific policies or information in the context of similar social and economic conditions of countries. For example, countries with similar socioeconomic aspects, what work there, what would be the chain across, like through the whole life cycle perspective. So knowledge sharing product on those lines, where like comparable countries policy examples could be shared, so that the common challenges that countries face for the given socioeconomic technical backgrounds. Thank you.
Thank you, Bhavnaji. Any other thoughts?
Yes, Mustaq.
Yeah, yes, please. Yeah, please.
And we need to understand the communication approach, because okay, that we can introduce resource efficiency, energy efficiency, etc. But people do really need to hear where to go with this sustainability, yeah, with the war between plastics and paper, something like okay. So you see, you can see this debate in the expert groups, but you can see also this debate in the common people, something like should I choose this paper bags for my grocery shoppings, or should I choose plastic bags, something like that. And so this is very important to communicate. Where are we going to go with this sustainability, with all this responsible consumption? This is very important, because if people see, okay, where we go, so okay, they know, they understand. If the future is still confusing, they see that, okay, please do a good discussion and tell us the results. Not to confuse the people, the community people of okay, this way or that way, like the issue of going with more of recycling plastics, or going towards biodegradable plastics. Which way to go? This is a real issue, and I think that the UNEP can start working in how to communicate this, because people get more confused now with the idea of responsible consumption.
Yeah, no, that's very, timely suggestion that using the convening power of UNEP, we can also try to convene the science awareness interface, that how science can help to raise not only the policy support, but also the awareness, and for giving us some clear directions to avoid any confusions and so on. So that's very helpful. Thank you. So any other colleagues would like to contribute now? But please feel free to send your inputs even after today's webinar. Okay, so then may I please pass on the floor back to Claire and Professor Shabir?
Yes, thank you, Mushtaq. And I will actually give the floor to Professor Shabir, who will highlight a few key takeaway points from this consultation before we close the session.
Thank you. I think that we have had a very, very good session, interactive session, and we have been collecting information from you, but today was really very outstanding because we learned a lot of things about product policies and coherence. So we learned about the coherence of product policies from India and from Indonesia and also from Thailand. So this is very important. So I hope that this is giving motivation and examples to many of our other friends who have joined to be able to communicate with us further so that we can engage with us further so that we can have this summarized for the whole for all the member states in the region. And also it was very important for us to hear experiences from Iran and so on about what is needed and what kind of issues are there which are very important to which may stand in the way of promoting policies that are there and which are kind of the intention is there, but the implementation is difficult. I think there may be other countries with slightly different issues, which may also be there, and probably UNEP can somehow, in some way, facilitate to some extent so that the policies, the product policies, can be better implemented and move out from the just the planning stage to the implementation stage. So I think that we will summarize all these discussions from today, of course, and we will share it. But we are also open to more interaction with you in the coming days so that we can have a better output from this whole exercise.
Thank you very much, Professor Shabir. So as we all have highlighted it, please do not hesitate to contact us using the contact details displayed on the screen. So we come to the end of this consultation. So thank you very much for your attention, your participation, and have a very good rest of the day. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Everyone.
Thanks,
Goodbye.
everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Stay safe.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you. Goodbye.